Today we're going to explore the qualitative research design of ethnography. This is a Prezi created by Sarah Lee, Sarah Root, Leah Mills, and Courtney Todd. What is ethnography? It is the study of social interactions, behaviors, and perceptions that occur within groups, teams, organizations, and communities. The central aim of ethnography is to provide rich, holistic insights into people's views and actions, as well as the nature, that is the sights and sounds, of the location they inhabit, through the collection of detailed observations and interviews. Here's a quick video to explain a little bit more about ethnographic research and a specific example of how it could be used.
Welcome back. Our topic for this episode is going to be ethnographic research. When I meet with traditional game developers, I've asked them how much they study players' behavior in order to get inspiration about the type of game to invent and design. And I've been amazed to hear them tell me they never really study players at all for inspiration. When I explained to them that for serious games we have to do scores of ethnographic observations and interviews, they're shocked and then asked me, what does ethnographic mean? And why do we do it? Ethnography is the study of people in their environment through the use of methods such as participant observation and face-to-face interviewing. Ethnographic research is designed to explore the cultural phenomenon where the researcher observes society from the point of view of the subject of the study. We use ethnographic research specifically because it is important to observe people to understand the problems they encounter. When we just ask them questions, we don't get as accurate a picture because they leave too much out. Often, they'll tell us what they think we want to hear to make us happy, which distorts the truth. We need to understand the behaviors that are being carried out by these actors in terms of acts, small units of behavior, activities, a set of related acts, and events, a set of related activities. We specifically need to know the space occupied by these actors and how these actors are situated in the space, as well as the objects in that space and how these objects are situated or arranged. We also need to make note of the time of observations, hours of the day, days of the week, specific months or seasons of the year. We can also ask ourselves, does there seem to be any goals associated with the behavior of the actors? Or do behaviors seem to be carried out with any level of emotion or feeling? Oftentimes, we can't do as much observation as we would like, so we have to turn to unstructured interviews. An unstructured interview will generally follow a predefined outline, but we'll have open-ended questions, that is, not yes or no questions. These are closed-ended questions that start with one of these words: how, where, when, what, why, or who. You need to have enough observations in unstructured interviews so that you get to saturation. This means that you continue to see the same pattern happening again and again, so that you think it's unlikely that you could learn much more from another observation or interview. Generally, you need to do at least 10 of these, but oftentimes you may have to do as many as 100. Take notes from your observation and unstructured interviews so that you can use them to create a database of acts, actions, events, spaces, objects, timing, goals, and emotions. You then need to do the following three things. 1. Organize the data into a database. 2. Analyze the data to find correlations and patterns. And 3. Synthesize the data to find the key patterns and insights. This information will be the basis for creating your personas and experience maps, which are the core of your design thinking approach to creating your serious game or app solution to solve your problem. Click on this.
So this really shows us that the researcher becomes a subject of the society or group that they're exploring. The interviews provide open-ended questions so that there can be more explanation as to what the researcher is seeking and what the participants are willing to share. And finally, it shows us how to analyze the data once the ethnographic research has been collected. Ethnography can be really useful. Ethnography immerses the project team in participants' lives and enables a relationship to develop with research participants over the period of a study. Ethnography provides a rich source of visual data and helps to reveal unarticulated needs. It also captures the behavior in the different contexts of everyday life because the researcher is truly experiencing it. It places a human face on data through real-life stories that teams can relate to and they can remember. It provides understanding behind statistics. Ethnography allows emotional behavior to be captured. And finally, by carrying out research in the everyday life environments of participants, it helps to identify discrepancies between what people say they do and what they actually do. So just like in the video, how we talked about participants will sometimes tell the researcher what they think they want to hear, this really allows the researcher to see the daily activities and day in and day out what the participants are doing and experiencing instead of just what they're telling us. Here are some similarities and differences between ethnography and the other qualitative research designs that we're exploring in class. Today we are going to explore some commonalities and differences amongst different types of qualitative research designs. We will specifically be looking at ethnography, which is a type of qualitative research that's used to develop a deeper understanding of a culture or a group of people. We'll compare ethnographic research to phenomenology, grounded theory, and action research, which are all different types of qualitative research. Before we begin comparing, we need to develop a deeper understanding of ethnography as a research design. While there are different approaches to ethnography, there are commonalities amongst the research conducted by a researcher using ethnography. To start, a researcher using ethnography will immerse themselves in the everyday lives of the people whom they are studying for a prolonged amount of time, making it a very lengthy research process. A researcher using ethnography must first be welcomed into a group of people before being able to collect any data. Then their research can be completed in the field as opposed to a situation set up by researchers. Both ethnography and phenomenology present the results of their findings in a more descriptive and narrative way. Most of the data collection in both of these research designs can be done through interviews, and the data is analyzed to find common themes. Phenomenology focuses on what a participant has experienced and how they experienced a specific phenomenon, while ethnography focuses on the daily lives of the participants. Researchers using phenomenology must recruit participants for their study, while researchers using ethnography must be accepted into a culture or group. Similarly to ethnography and phenomenology, grounded theory research also collects data through interviews and observations. Ethnography and grounded theory have smaller sample sizes. Grounded theory works to develop a theory based on data collection. Conversely, ethnography has no specific research design and is exploring commonalities among group members. Grounded theory focuses on one aspect of research, whereas ethnography focuses on all available aspects. Another type of qualitative research design is action research, which is more solution-focused. Action research focuses on a specific intervention used after identifying the problem of practice, whereas ethnography focuses on the social setting. There are many similarities and differences amongst these qualitative research designs. The focus for researchers is to look at what method will best answer their research question. I hope that answers some questions about the differences and the similarities between the qualitative research designs that we've been studying. Finally, we're going to look at the internal and external validity in ethnographic research. Internal validity is when the results that are seen in a study are due to the researcher's manipulation of the independent variable and not another influence. External validity shows us how well the results of a study can be generalized in different situations, populations, and through time. Ethnography is a type of qualitative research, and it studies people's lives in their everyday settings. So in that, researcher is truly immersing themselves. Originally, it was used by anthropologists who were studying people and cultures and groups, and now it's used in other fields of social science. Ethnographers, again, immerse themselves in their study group and look at a culture in an attempt to understand it from within. So they're becoming one of the subjects and really creating those observations as if they're living in there. Reliability in research seeks to determine if results of the study can be replicated, while validity establishes accuracy of those results. Ethnographic research findings are often viewed as undependable and have an absence of both validity and generalizability. Since ethnography is not a controlled experimental design, replication of results can prove difficult. Internal validity is normally higher in ethnographic studies, and this is due to the way that ethnographic researchers collect their data and they analyze it. It's common for ethnographers to live among their study subjects for long periods of time while they're collecting the data, and the researchers are able to repeatedly analyze their collected data and compare it to improve constructs and ensure that what they're studying matches what the study participants are actually experiencing. Again, it goes back to they're really living it and seeing daily what it is that's happening in that group. Internal validity issues in ethnography may include history, participant maturation, observer effects, participant selection, regression, mortality, and invalid conclusions. For external validity, the issues are that they're often ignored in ethnography. That's because ethnographic research generally focuses on single occurrences or very specific settings, so it can't always be generalized to other populations. Since ethnographic research focuses on specific areas, places, and populations, how the researchers select their study subjects will be different from researchers who are seeking a true random sample. They're not seeking out participants, they're experiencing the group. Using a larger sample size in a single site study can strengthen the level of external validity. When researchers are using ethnography as a type of research study, they've got to be careful not to include their own bias in the exploration because they're living those lives. They have to be aware of that and make sure that they're being objective in what it is that they're looking for and researching. Finally, here's a little clip just to give us a little more explanation.
Hello class, can I explain any key concepts?
Professor Siegfried, could you explain ethnography?
Well, Mandy, ethnography involves a walk in their shoes or a day in the life study. It is a method of observing human interactions in their social, physical and cognitive environments. Ethnography is a technique developed largely by anthropologist Margaret Mead. It involves behavioral observation, contextual interviewing and analysis of users in their work, home or play spaces. Ethnography is a holistic technique that goes beyond the limitations of focus groups by taking marketing research outside the laboratory setting. Ethnographers observe, interview, and videotape people in the context of their everyday lives, where they work, live, shop, and play.
Thanks, Professor, for this explanation of ethnography.
Ethnography data is really collected through observations and interviews and just seeking out that information that way. Here are the references that we used to gather our information. We hope you enjoyed and have a deeper understanding of the qualitative research method design of ethnography.